Good morning. Welcome to Unity Longmont Spiritual Center on the 18th of September, 2022. We are blessed to have Cathy Young here this morning as our speaker and Teresa Storch providing her beautiful music. So we'll start with Teresa.
So the song is based on a photo of my third birthday and the fact that I had to delay my wedding during COVID. Basically, some of you have heard it before. It's a good story song. In my best red dress with the pointy hat, I sit with you around me. A homemade birthday cake, 3 candles lit, with you surrounding me. Loner, goofball, motherly one, the ringleader and the responsible one. A rare photo, if there ever was one. And I'm wrapped up in your attention like the baby doll you'd given me. We are all together. My big sister and bigger brothers, I can see who you'll become. 'Cause this picture and all the others are the proof where I come from. You taught and teased and chased me. You criticized and praised me. And unwittingly you raised me. Of all the important people in the world to me, you were the total sum. We are all together. That house of chaos was our life raft till its broken times ocean churned. And the walls are papered now with photographs, but as the tide we have returned. And in my new white dress with flowers, I stand and you surround me like the wedding band I wear. I feel your love around me, and let's sing and dance and laugh and raise a toast up to our past and take another photograph to chronicle this moment and our family, since finally we it always makes me cry together. We are all together. We are all together. I thought I could do it.
Thank you, Teresa. Thank you
I
for the
can't play that
beautiful
song without
memories
crying.
of your gorgeous wedding with all of you together. Thank you. It's at this time that we go into prayer by taking a breath, being fully in our bodies, our minds, our hearts, our soul. Beloved presence, everywhere present. We celebrate being together. We celebrate a beautiful day. We celebrate our aliveness and sharing that with each other. Our hearts go to those in the world who suffer. We pray for comfort for those who suffer. And we know that comfort is delivered by divine grace. We remember, and when we don't, we remind each other to look for the good, to look for the God within all and in everything. We experience that in this moment. We say thank you. And so it is. and we will hear from Teresa again.
Well, I'm lonely and I'm tired and I'm giving up the fight in my head, and I'm grounded and I'm surrounded by the beauty I know I'll forget. So please this time, oh God, this time, oh, oh, this time, please let me remember it. Well, I'm lonely, but I'm happy, and I'm letting go of the things I regret, and I'm simple, and I'm single, yet I'm getting all that life has to give. So please this time, oh God, this time, oh, oh, this time, please let me remember it. And now I'm driving through a valley with the Mississippi that's shining like glass, and I watch a baby spider spin his home between my window and my dash, and Jeff Buckley's on the radio showing me the way out of the past. But I see you, you're smiling, and you listen to the words that I say, and I'm happy 'cause I am surrounded by the beauty that is everything. So please this time, oh God, this time, oh God, this time, oh, oh, this time, please let me remember it. Oops.
Thank you, Teresa. I always remember this song. I think it's become my favorite. So thank you so much. So let us open our hearts and our minds and our souls to Cathy Young, our guest speaker. And Cathy has a book out.
I do. I don't know why. It's called The Grace of God, a book of modern day parables. I never intended to write a book, had no desire to write a book, but as life went on, things, at one point I opened up and things just kept coming. And you know what? Things are coming like weekly now that I call them hits, just God's grace that's hitting me. And I'm allowing it now, I guess, where it was before I just, but now, but anyway, it's not, you can get it on Amazon.com, or you can get a couple copies from me because I have some, but that's not the point of this whole thing. The point of it was I felt the need to write it all down. As things were happening, I wrote it down like little notes. I had like little freaking notes everywhere, little note pieces of paper here, there, and everywhere that I sort of stashed in the same place. And eventually I said, well, you know what? Wouldn't this be nice out there in the world? Wouldn't it be nice to put this energy out there in the world? So that's what I did. And so there's 40 stories in this book. Only two of them are about what it was like before. It's like AD and BC and AD, right? BC was back then before the real Cathy. Hey, how about that? BC, before Cathy. Back when things were like just whatever. It was like sleepwalking through life. It's like people who are on alcohol all their lives or workaholics all their life. They're just going through the motions. That was what I lived in. People just going through the motions and not really any sort of awareness. Yeah, we went to church. I was a Catholic. I was raised Catholic, and we went to church, but it didn't mean anything. I mean, it really didn't mean anything. It was kind of peaceful when we went to church on Christmas. I mean, we went to church every Sunday, but especially when it was Christmas, because you could feel the joy. So that was nice, but it really didn't mean anything. And my first story is about my little cousin I'm not going to read it to you. I'm just going to tell you. We were watching TV one night. He was over at my house visiting with his mom, and the TV was on. It was news time. There was nothing else. And that was back when you had the 3 channels, that was it, And so all that was on was news. And there was a car crash. He was mad because I wouldn't let him watch something else. Well, it's only news. You're going to see the same thing on all 3 channels. He was like 5. He didn't, he wanted to watch something fun. And I go, and a car crash come on, and he said, I hope you get in a car crash like that. And I was like, well, because he was mad because he couldn't watch something fun, right? And so I said, be careful what you say, because God will punish you. I'm not kidding. This is the God I thought there. That's what I was taught back then, that God was there to punish you or to make you happy with his favors. Well, guess what? I went to bed. My aunt and my little cousin went off to their house in the city. And I went to sleep, and I don't know how much longer later on, there was my little cousin being put in bed with me with stitches, and he had gotten in a car accident, suffice it to say. He had been in a car accident. And I was like, what the heck just happened here, And I just was like, I felt bad because I thought I had helped to cause the crash, and I probably did, to tell you the God's honest truth. But I don't think God caused him to get in a car accident. But that's the God I was thinking of in the old days, and that's what life was like in the old days. Okay, enough of that crap. Now let's move on to how I live now. I was at the whim and the whimsy of a God that didn't make any sense. Okay. That was the point of that. And now I feel like I'm in concert with this God, that it's a personal, wonderful, it's not even like God and me. It's like God in me, you know? And it's a whole different beautiful feeling. And the more I open up to that and the more I allow God to be God and help me, because I honestly believe now that God, I'm calling it God because I don't know what it is, to tell you the truth. I think sometimes it's just an energy. I don't think of it as, oh, except I do in the back of my head, I think of God as this man that, you know, because that's what you're raised as a Catholic to believe, that God is this being, and we're made in the likeness of that's why we have to think of God as a being. But I don't know what God is, but I use the word because that's what I was raised with. So forgive the word God. It could be Allah, it could be Yahweh, it could be frog. I don't care what you call it. But, you know, it's just this beautiful, 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 cooperating, if you allow it, energy. And what I'm going to do is read you a couple stories of how that works when you see God that way and allow God to be that way, because it's just, and that's what the rest of the stories are, by the way. The remaining 38 stories are stories basically of what happens when you see God in a whole different way and you allow God the pleasure of helping you, because I really believe that divinity delights in helping us, absolutely delights in helping us when we allow it. So here's some of the things I've learned. And like I said, I keep learning more and more and more and more. Because one of my prayers every day is, when I eat my oatmeal, I go, as I open the body, the mouth to the nourishment of this oatmeal, I open my entire being to the love and the nurturing and the healing of God and the universe. And since I've been doing that, the nurturing, which to me is the giving me the knowledge, learning, helping me grow, it's just been amazing. It seems like every week I have another story to tell about how I've learned more from this wonderful divinity. But anyway, this is called Levels of Learning. I'm just going to read you the story. If you want to interrupt, please do ask me a question or interrupt in any way. So this is called Levels of Learning. Oftentimes, our greatest teachers are our greatest irritants. Like sand in an oyster is the irritant that causes it to create a beautiful pearl. It appears that in my life, bowling is one of my greatest teachers, and there are many levels of learning to be discovered from it. We've already seen that I view games as something to be won, or in the sport of bowling, to get strikes and score high. Do you see the word fun or happy or enjoyment there? Happy maybe if I scored high enough, whatever I decided that was. And you can predict that the high enough score would always be adjusted up as and if I bowled better. Turns out that there were many lessons bowling had in store for me as I asked for help and paid attention. One lesson I learned was a step in the right direction, maybe, but still pretty egoic. I bowled on Tuesdays and Wednesdays. Those are senior days when they give us colored pins in each rack. If you get a colored head pin and you get a strike, you win a free game card. It's a nice added fun element, and it's kind of the bowling alley to do that for us. The problem for me was I got into a pattern of not getting them, and then into a pattern of whining about it. Every time someone else got one, and usually everyone else did, I would point out that I still hadn't gotten any. One Tuesday, I went to the alleys with the intention to get lots of strikes and win free game cards. I came away with no colored head pins and no free game cards because of the energy of expecting, even if subconsciously, everyone else to get them. So Wednesday, I went deciding to think prosperity and say it every time I threw my ball. I allowed that energy. Okay, here's what happened. I got 2 colored head pins and threw a strike both times. I was called for the sweeper where you can get a card for 2 free meals. I won that. If you bowl over 200, you get a free game card. I had a 208 and a 204 and won 2 free game cards. I had so much fun. And there's nothing wrong with that. But do you see the catch? It was still a very egoic way of being and being happy. My happiness was still based on doing well. I created it, true, kind of like in The Secret and Manifesting Your Destiny by Abraham Hicks. I created that. I created it. Yes, that's not a bad thing. The creation of it, though, was based on the need for control. Something else bowling had taught me about. I had previously been wondering why, if we're supposedly all one, and I do buy into that mentally, but clearly not experientially. So if that's true, why do I dislike other people? That must be reflecting something back to me about myself that I dislike. So I asked myself who, at that time, was I particularly bothered by? And instantly and clearly, one of the bowling alley personnel came to mind. What was it that I didn't like about that person? They were very controlling. A characteristic I had in spades, for sure. Not a spiritual trait by any means. Not a happiness-inducing trait. Again, bowling was showing me another place where I could choose a better way of being. And that's why the free game cards and the high game scores and the joy that they brought me were extrinsic, based on controlling things outside myself, and thus ultimately short-lived. Another day, I was throwing the bowling ball really well. I was hitting the pocket every single shot. The problem was that I was leaving one pin standing each time. It was never the same pin, like pros who always leave the 10 pin. This was not a one-day phenomenon. I would get so annoyed. I felt that I should have scores in the 200s the way I was throwing the ball. Another lesson being pointed out to me. Even though I hated doing that and then hated getting angry about it, I realized that's what I was valuing and thus giving negative energy. You know, even though I wasn't really aware that I was doing that, by hating it, I was giving it energy. By hating it, I was giving it energy, which is not normally what we think about. You know, we think, oh, I'm going to positively conjure up this, you know, but I was hating it. And by hating it, I was giving it energy. And that's mind-blowing. And I realized that what I was valuing, and that's what I was valuing and giving negative energy to. And energy creates. So guess what? I was creating negative things with my negative energy. And I was creating everything that I hated. And the odd thing is that my friend who was empathizing with me, telling me how I should be getting strikes, was unconsciously adding fuel to the fire. I can't learn trust when people help me. And lack of trust leads to control issues. Okay, I can't trust when you help me. And as hard as it is to learn some lessons, fixing me and helping me are not doing that. So as I was writing this as an illustration of this, William Paul Young was talking on Super Soul Sunday about his own problems with control, lack of trust due to childhood abuse. And though I know the show was a repeat and I'd seen it before, the message only hit me this time, no doubt because I was in the midst of asking for and allowing anything unlike God to be taken from me. I related to his story of needing to be allowed to completely and utterly fail, in his case, into bankruptcy. He insisted his friends not help him by giving him money. He knew somewhere deep inside that he couldn't learn how to trust God if he didn't surrender. Because they had no money for Christmas presents that year, he wrote The Shack as a gift to his children. William Paul Young is the guy that wrote The Shack. Probably all of you have read The Shack. It's an amazing story, amazing story. So that's what he wrote for his children for Christmas presents because they had no money. So God took it from there. It was not only a cathartic exercise for him, but sold over 1 million copies within a year. What a wonderful example of how surrendering to and trusting, even though it's scary and you don't think you can, trusting that higher power led to a solution far beyond his wildest imagining. I could really relate to this story because I learned that as a child, I couldn't trust anyone or anything. So I continued to project that untrustability onto everyone and every situation, especially those in authority, including God. If I can't trust, I got to control. That gets exhausting. But God isn't anyone. Being made aware of my trust control issues, being reminded of them, and being able to relate to Mr. Young has led me to surrendering to God my need to have certain egoic outcomes. Bowling has become a much more pleasant experience, and I've actually been bowling better quite regularly because it doesn't matter. Because I've allowed the body mind to be God's to direct, not mine. If you find yourself needing to control things, finances, your kids, your mate, whatever, ask yourself, what causes you to not be able to trust? Surrender that to God, ask for help with it, and allow the amazing grace in whatever form it takes. Like William Paul Young, you may just be blown away. And that's that story. And all the lessons I learned from bowling, just from bowling, the sweetness of that. So Teresa, if you want to, if that inspired you to sing one of your songs, go right ahead, because I have another shorter story I want to read that relates to Deva's thing about the pavilion. What do you say, Teresa? No? Yes, no, maybe? She's muted.
I want to hear more from you.
Okay, I'm gonna, then I'll read, then I'll read the In the Flow story, which I was gonna read anyway, but amazingly, not so much. Amazingly relates to what David just said about being over there yesterday and having the pavilion open up. How weird. No, there's no coincidences in life. Okay, so this story is called In the Flow, and it's much shorter, and it's the last one I'm going to read. One of the things I've discovered as I allow myself to live here more consciously is that when I'm allowing my higher self to be all that it is, I flow. When I don't, I struggle. Here's how that difference played itself out one night. When I go to karaoke, I go to sing. To my egoic self, that means I sing without having to listen to a whole lot of other people. That particular night, which I knew might be one of the last for a long time due to the COVID restrictions, this was back when it was just starting, I was hoping there would be only a few singers. I got there early, as I usually do, figuring I could at least get on the beginning of the rotation list. But I walked into the place and it was jam-packed, full of karaoke people. My ego went into overdrive, just like when you saw those people in the pavilion. My ego went into overdrive. I almost walked right back out. There was one available space to sit, however, so I stayed. I mentioned to the KJ that I thought there were too many singers, and he replied that I was so negative. I made some reply about it's not negative, it just depends upon your point of view. He wanted clientele, I wanted to sing. At any rate, I decided to take his constructive criticism under consideration and choose a different attitude. Right, Deva? My initial reaction certainly hadn't felt good. I decided to enjoy the show. Everyone there was actually a really good singer after all. Much better feeling. I allowed that flow. After a while, one of the songs I chose, which I hadn't sung but maybe once before, was, and I'm sure you know it, The First Time Ever I Saw Your Face by Roberta Flack. Such a beautiful song. Such a beautiful song. It's a sweet song to begin with, but as I sang it in the flow, it came out heavenly, heavenly sweet. It was just, it was the perfect song to be singing if you're trying to allow yourself to be in a flow, that's for sure. It felt like something greater than myself was singing through me. It was, and this is a good word, it was enrapturing. I could feel that, not only for myself, but for everyone there. I could just see by looking at them that they were being touched by this song. It was palpable how touched everyone was by that song. So anyway, the point is everything is so much better with God. I even danced that night to a song that I love, Livin' La Vida Loca, with complete and total abandon. I was just so into flowing with everything that I did that. I often wonder when I look back on times like these, why I don't stay that way. I think that's because life here is a kind of process. First, get to a place where you're aware that you can actually allow these kinds of experiences, then allow them, then allow them, then allow them. Because we do fall back for whatever egoic reasons. The snowball effect will kick in. Practice makes perfect. Life here is about learning, or not. Take the constructive criticisms and figure out what they're teaching you about yourself. Then choose differently. Repeat. Let God figure into the equation if you want to learn more quickly. And see, Deva, how that just was like, yeah, I went there going, and just like when you went there and saw all those people in the, you said, damn it, it's not going to work out. And then you just decided to just, oh, okay. And I can't even tell you, I can't put into words how heavenly that whole thing became. Just because of the change in the attitude towards it and the allowing of the goodness. It's just, it just blows me away. It makes me cry.
Cathy, thank you for the ducky, delightful, and divine talk and reminder of the lessons that are always available to us. So at this time, we will hear from Teresa, and a bit later, we'll open up for responses to your talk. Thank you.
I have to play hand against my fist now. Doesn't that make sense? Those of you who know it. So this is my song about my own ego and letting go. And I had this image of like this feeling of just like banging your head against the wall. And so that I totally get it. I knew if I just kept listening, the song would come. So I've lived with my dial up to 9, my gauge well up past the red line, my hand against my fist, my hand against my fist, my hand as I resist. So I've learned I can lie all the time, but once I've earned it, they'd still wall of fear to my mind. This time I won't go blind. When is it enough? The stuff of the world holds my hand against my fist. So I scale the wall made by me for one last look at that ocean view I've seen in my life, but never in my dreams. 'Cause my dreams appear like water on a desert sand, and never noticing the gift was right there in my hand against my fist, 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 hand against my fist, my hand against my fist, my hand against my fist. But I found out, I found what I wanted all along. It's no great epiphany, just somewhere in a song. And I found out, I found what I wanted all along. Oh, it's no great epiphany, just somewhere in a song. I heard my hand against my fist, 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 my hand against my hand against my.
Thank you, Teresa. So at this time, we're going to go into our donation of love and light. And given the topic this morning, the music this morning, I'm going to suggest that we go from a place of resistance to a place of openness. And we do that by taking a breath together, becoming increasingly aware of the love and light within us, the love and light that we are. And we may want to place a hand on our chest, on our heart. And we simply allow this love and this light to flow from us, through us, and to be shared. And notice how it feels for it to flow. We notice how it feels to allow. We can rest in this allowance. And let us remember, when we find ourselves resisting, we have the choice to allow. Together we take a breath. And we say thank you. And so it is. We will finish with music from Teresa.
Gosh, two songs came to mind, but I'll just do this one. I can't decide. Would sadness go away if I dispel my grief? disappear if I planted the seed and gave my love to those who made me bleed. That I'm so tired of this pain, and no one understands my need for change. If I walked the pilgrim's path, could I become a saint and give myself completely to restraint? Could I see all my faults as a chance for love? Would it make me wise, make me humble enough that I'm so tired of this pain? No one understands my need for change. I loved the world enough, could I see the face of God? Could I see the face of God? Could I see the face of God?
So very beautiful and tender. You mentioned 2 songs. Did you want to do the other one?
The other one's Happy Girl. I thought about that one too. Have to retune though. That was the only. Okay, I'll do Happy Girl. This is like my hits, my Unity Longmont hits service. The ones I love to play here. Sometimes I get sad. I am a happy girl. I have an open heart. I have an open heart. Though sometimes I feel bad, I have an open heart. And I love this world, even when it hurts. I am a happy girl. I am a happy girl. I have a peaceful soul. I have a peaceful soul. And though sometimes I get mad, I have a peaceful soul. I have a quiet mind. I have a quiet mind. And though sometimes I react, I have a quiet mind. even when it hurts. I am a happy girl. I am a happy and I love this world, even when